Chelsea, hi. How are you?
Hi. I am so excited to be here with you and having this conversation. Yes, you are mother to one of my favorite people on the planet, and you
Oh,
are one of my favorite people. I mean, just you and Lauren and Jason, I have all the love and respect for you guys. So I'm so excited to have this conversation and
one thing
really
I was
excited.
thinking back on as I was putting my makeup on, I was thinking, you know what? I had Chelsea, you were on the podcast right at the very beginning, and I think it had to be 2016. I think that's when I started. And you graciously were on, and I was like so thankful. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I get to have her back on. And you and I have both grown a lot. It's been almost, 10 years, 9, 10 years. So
Do you feel like it gets wilder and wilder how fast time goes? I can't
oh
believe that was 2016. That's wild. But yeah.
yeah. And then I get to where, like, yesterday, yesterday I thought it was Friday all day. And I'm like, is there something wrong with me? Like, I was like checking my brain. I'm
I
like,
I
oh
feel like
gosh,
one day, I feel like one day off is in the ballpark. That's not too bad, you know?
that's not
So
too bad. Yeah. So girl, first of all, before we get started, tell my listeners who you are, and just anything you want about yourself. And then we're going to talk about you and I and our husbands have a same passion of
Mm.
a healthy, God-centered marriage. And we're going to get into that. But you just wrote a book. Thank you very much for doing that. And we're going to talk about that and why it's important. And anyway, but tell us who you are.
Perfect. I am Chelsea. My favorite title is wife and mom. My husband and I have been married for 26 years, which feels like
Congrats.
when birthdays come around. By the way, do you know Lauren and I have the same both your twins and I have the same birthday.
I
We're
forgot about that.
we are July 18th, exactly 10 years apart. So that's anyway. When birthdays come around, I'm like, okay, I lived another year. When my anniversary comes around, that is a number that
Like,
I am proud of and so proud that it's growing. So we've been
yeah.
married 26 years. Mom of three kids. Our sons are 19 and 21, and our daughter is 16. So I love being wife and mom. My husband and I get to lead a church together. I'm the lead theologian there. And so I love the Bible and God and what God can do for our lives. I just think
Yeah.
he just gives us so much. And so I'm happy to give myself to that and help connect other people to really God's plan and his
Yeah.
ways. And it's just, I feel I have a lot of pinch me days that I think I can't believe I get to do this every day. So
Yeah.
that's who I am.
Yeah. And, it's bringing that up is so important. I feel like you and I have a lot of the same passion. I wouldn't call myself a theologian, but I'm that's exciting. I love that. But I think, um, you know, you and I both know a lot of people, pour into a lot of people. And I just feel like I don't think it's really any different than ever before, but I think the dependence on the Lord, I think I'd love to hear your thought on it, but I think
Mm.
for me, my thought is sometimes I feel like people are afraid to dive in really deeply for,
Mm,
and I'm not really sure why. I
yeah.
just know for me, I didn't know the Lord till I was 33. And so I'm like trying to make up time, So anyway, but I'd love to hear
That's
your thought on that.
That's such a good observation. One of the things that we do at our church that I love is pastor chat, where people can come on and it's wild what people will say in a
Yeah.
chat function. And we've had the most real amazing conversations. I was actually talking to a young woman this week and she was talking about her boyfriend and he's facing addiction and she's, not really knowing what to do. And she kept saying, I'm so afraid that if I actually give my life to God, he'll make me get rid of this relationship. And
Yeah.
we started talking, and I was like, "Well, what's your perspective of God? What do you think about Him?"
Yeah.
And as we got into it, I realized she isn't seeing God as this loving, kind, gracious Father who loves her
Yeah.
so much that He gave His Son Jesus on her behalf. She's seeing God as this
Yeah.
cosmic justice guy who is trying to make her do this right thing. And I do agree with you. I feel like so many people, that was just one conversation this week. And here's this wonderful young woman who is hesitant to dive in because she doesn't understand the love and goodness and graciousness, I think, of who God is. And so if you don't think
Yeah.
of him that way, you can be hesitant to dive in. And it makes perfect sense that you would be afraid to entrust your life to somebody who you think is just going to be angry or mad or fill in the
Well,
blank.
yeah. Or what could happen? Like if I do this, what's going to happen? And I think for me, just the personal testimony for me is not knowing the Lord. I had a collision with the Lord. It was like a Damascus Road experience for me in 1992. I had just divorced my husband, who God restored our marriage 7 years later. But at that moment, if God hadn't intervened, I'm not sure we'd be where we are, Jeff and I. I mean, it's, he put me on
Wow.
a path, literally put me on a path to restore the marriage, never dreaming that it would take 7 years to do that.
Wow.
Now being back together 26 years and having a marriage ministry, you're like, what? you know?
I love that you describe your relationship with God that way, as a Damascus Road encounter.
Mm-hmm.
My prayer for the last year has just been a simple prayer of show up, God, show up,
Yeah.
show up. And I
Yeah.
wonder too if some of the hesitation that we're feeling about God is that we're nervous to put stuff back on him, to either God, you show up and you be God and
Yeah.
you do this in the way that only you can do it, because
Yeah.
I've come to the end of how much I can do on my own, if that makes sense. And I
Yeah.
I I sense a shift happening in people's lives that we're working with. If we prayed those prayers for a lot of times and
Yeah.
a lot of years, and okay, God, can you show up? And he has, and he's faithful, and there's always a
Yes.
faithfulness to God. But I I have noticed, and I think a season is coming that God is going to show up with more miracles, with
I
more
agree.
Damascus Road encounters, just with more of those. This is undeniably God
Yeah.
intersecting in humanity. It's not just okay, I'm just doing the nice things and working the principles, and all those things
Yeah.
are great too. But I really sense, and I let's have a conversation a year from now, and and just
Yeah.
I think God is, I just have that sense that he's showing up in more powerful, miracle, supernatural ways, more Damascus Road encounters, because we live in a world that it just necessitates that. We need him, I think, more than ever
Oh,
before.
oh my gosh. And the older I get, the more I feel like I need him, and you think, well, the older I get, surely this will let up.
Yes. Nope.
No, no, it doesn't. And then I kind of smile and I'm like, thanks God, because you really
Yep.
never give up on us. Never.
Never.
Yeah.
Even never. Even when we do the same, I have the same weaknesses I've had when I was 18 and when I was 28. And,
Yeah.
I'm getting better at some of them, not really. And God
Yeah.
still shows up for me time and time again. He doesn't get annoyed at us or frustrated or throw his
Yeah.
hands up in the air. How are you? I'm blown away by his graciousness and his love and his
Me too.
patience with us, and that he still keeps showing up. And I'm with you. The older I get, the more I realize I need him.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So let's talk about your book. Okay.
Mm, love it.
So, honestly, I think the first um, encounter I had with you guys from the standpoint of well, one, I came to the church, but besides that, in regards to a marriage thing, I started years ago. I don't know when you actually started, but the Marriage Monday thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because and so I want to first let's talk about Marriage Monday, then we're going to talk about why you wrote this book. And I think that what I love about you, Chelsea, is your forthright, honest, just, like I think sometimes, oftentimes when we're in ministry, we think we kind of have to portray, oh, I have the perfect marriage. Oh, I have, all these things, and we don't have any issues. And we, oh, everything's just rosy all the time. But what I love about you is like you're honest.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's surprising, that's a shock, but yeah, thank you. Because
Yeah.
I feel like I was given such an incredible gift, and this is a lot of the heart behind Marriage Monday in some ways, is my parents they got married in 1970. So they just celebrated their 55th wedding year and wedding anniversary in July. And I got to grow up seeing a healthy marriage. My parents
Yeah.
still go on a date every Friday night. I love it so much. But I saw a
Yeah.
healthy marriage, but
Yeah.
not a perfect marriage. I saw my parents fight. I mean, they never yelled, which is the whole shocker, when I married Judah, and he's a bit more of a yeller. But I saw that they had to work through things and go through stress and go
Yeah,
through change, and all the things that I got to see my parents do. I realized we have a generation who hasn't seen a lot of that. Even just looking at the
true.
divorce rates, 50%. That's not even, the marriages that are staying together and maybe not healthy. And so I
Yeah,
realized I'm not going to do anything to help people in their marriages if I just portray this perfect marriage that
yeah.
everybody else can't live up to. Like, I want to
Mhm.
give people the real story, which is I'm annoyed with Judah today, or I absolutely messed up and picked a fight with him just because I was being selfish.
Yeah,
And I actually think that can help people so much in helping people see, oh, this is real marriage. Oh, okay. I can do this and I can keep going. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's
we
wrong with me in our marriage. And
yeah.
so I wanted to give
Yeah,
that gift to other people.
yeah, and it's awesome. If anybody that's listening, if you haven't listened to that, you need to. But so let's talk about. So what I love is I think, and I think women do this more than men, but dream of one of those marriages that full of connection all the time, trust, laughter, this kind of. I mean, I lived that in our first marriage. Like I was thinking, oh, this has got to be perfect. We didn't have guidance. Jeff and I didn't have guidance, and we looked like we had the perfect marriage, but but deep inside there was. When we look at it now, which was 1982 to 1992, 10 years almost, we can go back now and say, gosh, both of us were not, in a sense, not in a good place. Although we call it uh, polite pretending. So we weren't
Wow.
we weren't
Wow.
intentionally polite pretending. We rarely ever fought. We looked like Barbie and Ken. People used to say, "Oh my gosh, Barbie and Ken, you guys have a perfect life." All these kinds of things. And the reality was, both of us were pretty lonely. I mean, I'm the one that kind of, in a sense, spoke up, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, there was just a lot we didn't know.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
now we've been back together 26 years. And I mean, we just really, and I'm not saying yes, we're normal. We have fights, we have blah, 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 blah. But we never take our marriage for granted. And it's like you can work through things. And I think this culture tells us, hey, if it doesn't work out, just get out.
Tells us if it doesn't, if you have problems, something is
Yeah,
wrong, and so you should just get out. And that'll
right.
and that'll make your life easier. I was in an Uber recently, and I was talking to the Uber driver. She was probably in her 50s, and we were talking about life. And she was saying, I divorced my husband, worst decision I ever made. She's like, dating out there is hard. She's like,
Yeah.
I mean, she has no idea that I put a book or what I do. She's just telling me about her life. I love it. She goes,
Yeah.
dating is just hard, and starting over is hard. She's like, I literally wish I just would have done the work and stuck it out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
and I love your story, Cheryl. I love the way you tell it. You're so brilliant, and I am absolutely going to steal your phrase of polite pretending,
Do
because
it.
that a- that is the perfect description of what can so often happen. Or and you end yourself find you find yourself just trying to do it for the kids and putting on this face and just
Yeah.
having this pretend marriage, when realize really you're going through things. You're human. That we
Yeah.
live with deep emotion and concern and beauty. And if we don't know how to share those things with our spouse,
Yeah.
you can be lonely in marriage.
Yeah. Or we don't
And
speak up. Like that was my biggest issue. I didn't know how
no,
to speak up. And I know a lot of women face this. I'm not sure about men, but women, like I was thinking there's something wrong with me for
yes,
feeling this way because look at my life. Right. And I'm like,
yep, yep,
what do I need? What is it that I'm unhappy with? Right.
yep,
And all I can remember, and it got worse and worse and worse as time went on. And this, and you know, I feel like most of the world knows this, but I ended up having an affair. I wasn't looking for an affair. That wasn't my goal at all. Like I was
yep.
actually surprised myself. I didn't understand the concept of deception at that point. I
Mm,
actually did a whole article on guarding your heart, guarding your heart, because I didn't even know I was supposed to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and so I was just attached, and I got attached more emotionally. It wasn't really, it was a physical thing eventually, but that's not what it was about. It was about connection. And that's
Yep.
why, like, when you talk about, you have a dream, right, of marriages that are full of connection, trust, and laughter. And so I want you to talk about that for a second. And then I also want to talk about, like, what, how do you approach, well, one, is this a fallacy? And then do you, how do you approach things, in your marriage, or really just what do you know about that?
A good question. Is I think it is doesn't have to be a fallacy that you
Yeah.
can have a marriage full of connection,
Okay.
hope, trust, and laughter. But I
Right.
do think it's a fallacy that you'll get there without intention or
Yeah.
without working towards it.
Yeah.
And to get there without some pain and some discomfort.
Yeah.
And how I
Mm.
think I realized that Jude and I have done that because we both saw it modeled in our parents. And so we were given a lot of tools that we didn't even realize we were blessed with when we entered
Yeah.
into marriage. And when I wrote this book, actually the publisher, had seen Marriage Monday and came and talked to me, and they wanted me to write a chapter book that somebody can read in a weekend and read in a couple weeks and here's the 10 principles for your marriage. But they actually offered
No.
me more money to do that because they said that sells more. But I said, no, I really want to help marriages. That's my goal.
Yeah.
Selling books is great. That's what you're here for. I'm here because I really want to give people tools to have that connection in marriage. And I don't think those tools come in a weekend or in one book. It comes from new habits, new ways of thinking, new connections. And so that's why in the book it's a 52-week guide. It's
Yeah.
not a chapter book. It's here's 52 weeks, some topics that range from sex, money, laughter, spiritual warfare. I mean, all just kind of everyday things in life and marriage. And
Yeah.
it gives it just a thought, something that Judah and I have done right or wrong, probably both, but a little bit of wrong. And then the best part about it really is there's journaling questions, and then there's conversation topics for couples to have together, and then an
Yeah.
activity to do together. And that's where I really believe the power of this book isn't my words, it's the words that it encourages couples to exchange
Yeah.
together and with each other. Like the money chapter actually isn't about budgeting, although talk about it. It's about what was your parents' perspective on money and how was
Yeah.
that translated to you and how was that translating into our marriage and our relationship, and asking meaningful questions and learning how to do that with each other as
Yeah.
spouses. Because asking difficult questions,
Yeah.
difficult. There's a reason they're hard questions. And so often I
Yeah.
feel like, your example of politeness. What was the phrase that I said I was going to reuse that
Polite pretending. PP.
polite pretending that couples just do that and things just bottle up and then boil
Uh-huh.
up. And so often we don't actually talk about money until there's a money problem. But if
Right.
if I can provide something for people to say, hey, here's a meaningful conversation that you can have about money now when there's
Yeah.
not a problem, and get that connection and get that understanding, or you can talk about your in-laws, or you can talk about your sex life, whatever the thing is. I really believe that can foster that connection of trust and vulnerability and intimacy and laughter, and provide that in a way to give that meaningful connection, but that has the work and the intention behind it. Do you think it's a fallacy to be able to have a marriage of trust and meaningful connection and laughter? How would you answer that question?
Fallacy? Absolutely not. And I don't think it's a fallacy at all to
Mm,
have it. If you're looking for perfection, it's never going to happen. And when we start
mhm.
working with a couple, we always tell them at the beginning, just remember your marriage is never going to be perfect. Basically, it's a sinner married to a sinner. And so
Yep.
I think the gift is being able to live with someone and develop all of these different things of
Yep.
whatever it looks, if it's forgiveness or it's connection or it's, I mean, there's so many things. I was sitting there, part of my message is with the thriving thing is God intended for us to live an abundant life. And he means abundantly spiritually and emotionally, mentally,
Yes.
physically.
Yes.
And yes, as there's a lot of women listening here, but um physically meaning sex, and women are like, no, and you and I have had conversations about this before. And I
Yes.
and I and I think understanding and striving for the gift that God has given, Jesus has given us, of thriving in all these areas
Yes.
takes a lot of hard work. And yes, it's not a fallacy, but you can develop all this. And
Yep.
I think, I don't know about you, but I just think it's funny sometimes where one day you're just like so connected, and the next day, like, well, what happened? Yesterday was just so great.
You could solve that mystery for me.
Yeah.
It's so true that who knows why and when this beautiful connection came. And then I think of that scripture where Jesus, where in Lamentations, it says that God's mercies are new every
Every
morning.
morning.
And
Yeah.
that, that Jesus called himself our daily bread. I do think there are things that we just can't store up. That think of the picture of manna and the Israelites and manna, how they were starving. They got this
Yeah.
manna and then they tried to hoard it and think we need to save it for a week. And they couldn't. They had to literally just gather it every day. I think that's similar to the connection with our spouse, is we think, oh, I can hoard it and save it, and then it'll last me for the next season. And then, no, it's like, no, you just need it every day. It's that
Well,
day,
yeah. Okay, so
daily.
I have a question. So in order to get to, so I think what I find is a lot of people are waiting on their spouse to, whatever words you want to use, get better, grow, work on themselves, whatever. And what I continue to say, and I hope I do it myself, I try to,
Yeah.
but I'm a natural learner. So it's easy for me to
Mm.
kind of like explore things and like try to put it into action. Not everyone's like that, but what do you think the key, I mean, isn't knowing yourself one of the keys to it?
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
and talk about that, because
I, it's so brilliant that you said that, because I think so often we think something is wrong with our marriage when really I have a deficiency, you have a
yeah,
deficiency, and one of the keys to a healthy marriage is getting healthier as an individual.
yeah,
And it's so easy for us to be gracious with ourselves and our own shortcomings,
yeah,
and critical to our spouse and their shortcomings, when actually it's
yeah,
like, hey, let's have grace go both ways. I think one of the biggest robbers in our generation of healthy, thriving marriages
yeah,
is a lack of contentment and
yes,
comparison. And the social media age, all of a sudden we have insight into the highlight reels of everyone's life. And it is so easy for us to look at ourselves and feel
yeah,
like, I'm not enough. I don't have enough. My house isn't clean enough. My cooking isn't good enough. I can't cook
yeah,
to save my
yeah,
life. And to be in this cycle of all of these, I'm not enough. And we aren't even conscious about it at times. But
yeah,
then what we do is look to our spouse to try to fill this void that we're
right,
creating in ourselves. And it's impossible. No human can step in. And if we feel like we're not enough, if we feel all of those things, my husband, as amazing as he is, cannot fill that void. That's something that I get to go and work on between me and God, and let
right,
let that work be done. Let that void get filled, and then all of a sudden, I'm bringing this version of myself into a marriage that can actually have that connection. And the
yeah.
beauty is when we can have those conversations along with our spouse.
Well,
But
and that's what I was just going to say. And so when you can see that, right? Because I think that's a really
yeah.
mature thing to be able to
Mm.
do, and I think we all need to work towards that. Is how do we then humble ourselves enough to where we can actually go to our spouse and say, man, whatever it is, I'm struggling with this, or I'm sorry I said all this, here's where I was coming from, right?
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
what creates the connection.
Yes, in that I say in the book that the hardest words for me to say, my father-in-law used to say that the hardest words is to say are, will you forgive me? For me, my hardest words to say are, I need this from you. I need,
Yeah,
and to know what I need, and then to have the courage to ask for it. But what
yeah,
I have found is that when I say I'm feeling like I'm insecure today because I'm fill in the blank, whatever I would feel insecure. In those moments when I have brought that to Judah and I let him see that, and I kind of unzip part of the ugly in me, or the part
yeah,
that isn't the present to the world version of myself. and he sees that, and
Yeah.
he sees it in humility, and he just comes and loves me anyway.
Yeah.
I think that is the magic of marriage. I think that is
Yeah.
where we get just the supernatural heaven on earth, because God sees us and he sees all of our flaws and our weaknesses, and he loves us unconditionally. We don't get very many glimpses of that on this planet. We're used
Yeah.
to conditional love, but
Yeah.
our spouse is the best opportunity to be unconditionally loved. And man, I do feel this way with Jeff when he sees the ugly in you, or the insecure
Yeah.
in you, or the whatever, and he loves you.
Yeah.
Don't you just, doesn't that just fill you up and give you a connection that nothing else can?
Well, yeah, it makes me feel completely um cared for, loved by him, accepted, and really even confident, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so, and then I'm just going to bring this in because I think it's really important. But, all these things go together spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. So I know for me, when I feel this from Jeff, the acceptance and the love, and, I'm already attracted to him physically, but like it makes me want to jump his bones because of that.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, good, I'm going to do that more. Right?
It's reinforcing positive reinforcement of
Yeah.
the behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so true. But I think sometimes as women, especially, we can think, okay, once my husband meets me there, then I'll start having, then I'll want to jump his bones. Then
Yeah.
I'll get a little bit crazier in the bedroom. Then I'll whatever. And I do think there are times when we just need to, you know
Go
what?
do it.
Just go do it. Just start. Just make a choice, and
Well, and you
the
and I've
emotions
had,
will follow.
yeah, and you and I've had this conversation about the importance. It worries me in our culture. I think part of it is just the sexualized culture. I don't think that's helping things, but also how important making love to our spouse is, and us making love together, and what that looks like and why it's important. And I know you and I have always talked about this because we don't have an issue connecting that way. Like we know that, but there's a lot of people that separate that out. And like what you just said is so key. You, it it doesn't have to be he said something nice and now we have sex or whatever. It's like a continual, it's part of the marriage.
Yep.
And I
Yes.
think women, I don't know what it is exactly, but I think women, one, I think are afraid of the whole sexual piece. I think they really, I hear this every week. Well, he wants it. I'm like, well, the reality is God created you a sexual being too.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about how can we explore you and where you are there. Right. And I know there's a lot of things that have to do with that. This could be,
Yes.
yeah,
But
abuse and
the
everything else. But yeah,
yeah, abuse, hormones. Ugh, I had a
right.
hysterectomy 10 months ago, and I kept this is
Oh,
way too. I kept my ovaries, so I have so many hormones, but hormonal changing
yeah.
is is really real. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes we might over spiritualize things. And I'm trying to, if anyone knows a good hormone doctor, let me know. But um sometimes it could just be, let's get our hormones checked.
Yeah.
Maybe our hormones are out of whack. So there can be
Yeah.
those. There's also abuse, and
Yes.
at abuse or shame or past experiences
Right.
that I think we really can take an opportunity to let God come and heal and show up in that miraculous way and do
Yeah.
things on the inside of us. I love Psalms 23 says that God restores our soul.
Yeah.
And that soul is all the things on the inside of us, our mind, our will, our emotions. And
Yeah.
I do have faith for women, for all of us at any age. If you need a restoration of your perspective of sex, if sex is full of shame, if it's
Yeah.
not something that's fun, God restores. God
Yeah.
can really come and do miracle working. And sometimes that is a slow miracle, sometimes it's a fast one. But
Yeah.
sometimes that restoration of a soul is really needed. And
Mm.
other times, I think we just need to make a choice, and we need to bring the sexiness back in sex again.
Yeah.
And however that is, it's so, highly individualized. And I might get crucified for this. This is the first part. You're the person who makes me say things that I don't say. But and maybe a pastor shouldn't say this, I don't know, but
Oh, say
maybe
it. No, I
okay,
don't agree. I don't
oh my
agree.
word, maybe you just need to pull out a romance novel
Yeah.
and and be like, okay, picture your husband and stir up the sexiness of sex again and just dive in. So
Yeah. I'm totally on that page. 150%.
of course you
At
are,
my
because you're
age.
yes. Oh, I want to ask you, uh, uh, hormone shifts. How have you
Yeah.
navigated that? And any thoughts on that advice?
Yeah, I never had a hysterectomy so far. But I did go through menopause at 53. It was kind of a sudden thing. I was kind of in the perimenopause thing, I think, for a
Yeah.
few minutes. But when Lauren had her accident, and I didn't know this until after it happened, but I went right into menopause, and my doctor told me sometimes a
Whoa.
trauma will cause that. So anyway, so that was 53. I'm now 67. And so, yes, I don't want to say this. I think we have to be cognizant of hormone change, be able to talk to our spouses about it, be real about where we're at the same time, don't wallow in it so much that you're letting it affect your life all the time, because we can do something about that. And what I mean by that is I
Mm,
didn't take hormones. I did kind of dabble in some there for a little bit, but and I think I needed that too, like
yeah.
progesterone was low, and estrogen, even testosterone at some point. But I think oh, I don't know if I should say this or not, but sometimes I think we can use the hormone thing as an excuse. And I don't mean that so
I
negatively
love
that,
that you're saying, yeah,
okay, because we
I love that.
can, to where it holds us up in life, really. And the reality is, we go through hormone change, so do our husbands. And so we didn't really realize that till a little bit later, because guys aren't quite, it's not, no periods and
It's
all that
not
kind
as
of stuff.
sudden. Yeah.
Yeah, but it definitely happens. And I think,
Wow.
again, going back to what you talk about here, is full of connection, is we've got to be able to talk about these things.
Yeah.
And like, just like oftentimes with men, it can be kind of a grumpiness or whatever, similar to a woman. But I think we definitely take on more of that kind of shift all the time. But I
Mm.
think it's just getting in touch with yourself and say, okay, today, for whatever reason, I'm feeling pretty edgy. I don't know why, but be able to say to Jeff, listen, and now I'm kind of calmed down because I'm so old, but like, but, but the reality is, being able to, as we grow older, it doesn't mean we lose our sexiness, or
You exemplify that so well. My mom actually does too, and I'm grateful for that. So I'm trying to, but
thank you.
you
Gosh,
are like, you are the sexiest
thank you.
66-year, like you exemplify that very, very
Okay.
well.
So I need to know how you see that, because
Oh, I
cute,
mean,
because I work at it, but
first of all, I think it's just in the confidence and the way you carry yourself.
oh,
And it's not,
thanks.
I think sexiness, it's not you're
Yeah.
not like in crop tops, but you also
I wear
are,
crop tops. No, I not really.
I mean, maybe, I mean, I actually kind
With
of have a crop
Jeff,
top, just,
maybe.
yeah. Not that they're bad. I love them, but
Yeah.
um, it's not in a outfit. I think it's also in, so the way you carry yourself, the way you laugh is
Oh,
so sexy. It's confident. You're not trying to be the 25-year
yeah,
old version of yourself. To me, you seem very content in the 60s version
I
of
am.
yourself, but that is beautiful and confident and sexy. And you just, I would love if Lauren was on this conversation, because I feel like she would reinforce that. And it
Oh,
probably is because you do still have a healthy outlook to sex, and somehow it does come out, and
thank
you
you.
don't feel less than
Yeah.
in your sexuality as you've
Mhm.
gotten older. My perception.
Thank you. And I think a lot of people give up on it,
Mm,
or they've never understood it along the way, you know.
yep. Yep.
But I think the piece that I feel like is, again, I said it earlier, but so missing for women, is that piece in not understanding your sexuality. And I think a lot of times it's defined as sexuality equals having sex a lot. Well, yeah, I want to have sex a lot because of the rest of it, I guess, you
Yeah,
know?
because of the intimacy, the connection,
Yeah,
the life, the vivaciousness, all of the
yeah,
things that
yeah.
come
Let's
along with
just
it.
add to it that we do have hormones that, sex brings, dopamine and
It
everything else.
the kids, my kids are at LA public schools, and the first sex ed seminar that they went to, I think my oldest son was in 8th grade, and I'm like,
Yeah,
trying to, really care about it. It was fascinating, by the way. All the news that's out there that tries to say whatever about public schools. I mean, this
yeah.
seminar was so beneficial for
Cool.
my 8th grade son back in the
Wow.
day. And it talked about what happens when you have sex, and specifically the oxytocin that
Yeah,
is exchanged between two people. That this seminar, which is very true, described it as the glue hormone. And
yeah,
when you have sex with somebody, it literally is that glue
yeah,
hormone that sticks you to. It's the same hormone that happens when a mom is breastfeeding their baby. It's
yeah.
that release of oxy. It literally does create a connection, a chemical
Mhm.
connection, a God designed chemical connection between husbands and wives, that
Yeah,
you're the purpose of this isn't a committed marriage. And so it's not like you're
yeah.
gluing to somebody and ripping apart, which was
Right.
the point of the sex ed seminar that my kids went to, that was amazing.
It's
But in
amazing.
marriage, it's like, hey, we get this glue hormone. And sometimes,
Yeah,
like you said, you just wake up and for no real reason, you just feel kind of off with your spouse, or you feel
yeah.
like missing a connection. And that's a great morning
Yeah,
to have.
come here.
Yeah, to just have morning sex. And when we feel that funkiness, there is something that sex cures, that
Yeah,
even a conversation or a date or something can't, that it's that
yeah.
chemical connection that's powerful, that is
Well,
God designed. God
well, and
designed
don't
us to
you?
be sexual beings and all those
Yeah.
things.
And I always say that. I always say, um, God created all this. None of this was a mistake,
Yes.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
And God created orgasms and for sex to be full of
How
pleasure. And so yes, we
it's
get to
true.
just bask in that and celebrate it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's worship. Okay, now this is going to be weird, but I think sex is worship.
It
When
is
we
worship.
when we use our bodies in the way that God designed and created them to be, it's
Yeah,
powerful and beautiful. So yeah.
it is. Okay, so we're way out of time, but I knew this was going to happen. But okay, so Chelsea, thanks for being on. And tell us, well, you can probably find the book anywhere, right?
Yep. All the places.
Okay,
Amazon's easiest. I'm an Amazon girl. Thank God. One click.
me
It's
too.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
And then also just tell us where people can find you, just,
Ah,
different places, different
yeah,
platforms.
perfect.
Yeah.
Instagram Chelsea Smith. Anything else, Church Home Chelsea Smith. One of the
Yeah.
Oh, I will just make a plug for one thing. I do think spiritual connection with our spouses is
Yeah.
also so important, and that can feel hard and intimidating. One of the things that we do as a church community, free and available to everybody, is the 5 to 7 minute daily guided prayers that
Yeah. I love that.
spouses can do together. And it's
Mhm.
a great way to have a spiritual connection, because I believe when we're connected spiritually, physically, emotionally, that is just the trifecta. So
So
um
I do want you to like just take whatever 30 seconds and I want you to talk
yeah.
about that. You and I are on the same page about that. I feel like the spiritual connection is the first and best, and everything
Mm,
else comes from that. And so
yeah.
would you agree with that, or
I feel like the spiritual connection is the deepest
it
and at
is?
times the most vulnerable. And
Yeah.
for moments when I'm with Judah and we're if I will say things to God that I have a hard time saying to my husband sometimes, but
Yeah.
to say things to God in front of Judah,
Yeah.
and for me to hear Judah as a man talking about hearing his worship and need for God,
Yeah.
that to me is just the deepest, most intimate, most vulnerable connection, even more than sex at times. But
Yeah.
I think it is, as the deepest, it is the most meaningful. And when you connect there,
Yeah.
it does make all the other things easier, more
Yeah.
rich.
Yeah, exactly. So do you guys, I know we went off on a tangent again, but I knew this. Yeah. So from a spiritual perspective, how do you guys connect? What do you, because people are thinking, okay, well,
Yep.
that sounds great and everything, but what do you do? Like, what do you actually,
Yep. A great question. I mean, I do think there's something so beautiful about standing in church and singing songs together, holding hands. That to me is just a moment of hearing each other. The
Yeah.
fact that we are standing together as spiritual beings and we're giving our awe and worship to
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
That is just a moment. I think on a daily basis, praying together,
Yeah.
having having moments of just maybe it's before bed, maybe it's when you wake up, of just talking to God in front of each other
Yeah.
is, I
Yeah.
think, the simplest, not easiest, but the simplest way to do it.
Yeah.
But it's vulnerable and deep. What do you and Jeff do?
Well, just, we, one of the, a lot of that, what you just said, but then also
Yeah.
just practicing like, what is, and you don't have to sit there and ask the question to each other, but just because, well, we're together all the time and we work together and all of that, but just, you know, where are you struggling spiritually? What's
Mm,
some stuff you're having trouble with at all, or do you feel connected? If not, why? And then what's God showing you? Like,
yes, that
yeah,
is
today, just
powerful. Yeah,
today,
yeah,
you know? Hmm.
yeah. What did God like? I'm a Bible reader. I'm not as much of a prayer so much. Where
Same,
Jude is
girl.
a
I'm
great
the
prayer,
same.
and he'll
Yeah.
like read a verse of the day. So, but there always is something
Yeah.
that I picked up in my Bible. In those moments that I talked to Judah about that, and we can connect over that. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's interesting because I've been thinking those spiritual, God centered conversations are also, I'm glad you
Mhm.
said that, so powerful and
Well, because I
meaningful.
think I'll just bring up this word, but the legalism thing of I have to be
Mhm.
perfect doesn't allow that a lot of times, because someone, even in their marriage, even as close as you could be, feel like they can't really share that with their spouse because they're in it, whatever it is, it be judged or whatever it is, criticized or whatever. And I think that vulnerability is what has caused Jeff and I to be closer. Like, man, I was reading this and whew, I can totally see this in me. Like, you know,
Yeah.
hey, you remember? Yeah, and Jeff went, yeah, I can too. No, I'm kidding.
As long as it's not that, oh, yeah, I was reading this and I think you need to fix
Yeah,
whatever because the Bible says, yeah, that's not going to go over too well.
yeah. But that's also another thing is, can we speak truth sometimes?
Mm,
And I think we have to
mhm.
pray through it and we have to
Yep.
be able to say it in a loving way. But there are sometimes we have to do that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But we see things in we're all human beings. We all have
Yeah,
blind spots. We all have
yeah,
things we can't see. And as spouses, we're pretty good at seeing our spouses' blind spots. But I love that you said praying through it because
yeah,
I'll have moments where I'll notice something in Judah and I'll kind of sit on it for a bit and say, hey, is this just me being annoyed? Is this something that
yeah.
we could
That's
work
good.
on together? Is this and just kind of praying through it and sitting on it and
I love that, girl. Okay, so
I
now we're
love
going to
you.
end the interview.
Yes. Okay. I know you tried to end it and I opened up a whole new can of
No,
worms.
no, I
That's
love
on me.
it. I love it. Anyway, girl, thanks for being on. And I'm excited for people to grab a hold of this book and
Oh,
learn and, yeah,
sorry, as
mature.
my phone's ringing.
Oh
That's
yeah, no problem.
I'll do it. Thank you for being you, doing what you do,
Uh,
being sexy, talking about all the things I just really, really do admire and appreciate you. So thank you.
you're so sweet. All right, talk to you later.